Well, you know, I
think God and Moses both just have enormous respect for each other.
White gladiator has that same
Look, the judges are gone. Even the Egyptian judge is impressed.
Until recently, you claimed that the Earth revolved around the sun.
Hello and welcome to History Bites. I'm Rick Green. Have you ever read a novel that transported you away to far-off, magical, and impossible places? Well, in 1298 AD, there was a book like that, but it wasn't a novel. The book was a travelogue written by a Venetian trader named Marco Polo. Marco had gone on a 23-year trip to the Orient, east across Europe and all of Asia through lands controlled by Mongols. Medieval readers gobbled up his story, though not everyone believed his strange tales. Some called him Marco Millions, not for the big bucks he was raking in, but because they felt he exaggerated. But whether they believed his claims or not, his book was a literary highlight of the 13th century. And when you've penned a bestseller, there's only one route for a traveler like Marco to take: the talk show circuit.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's a world traveler, a trader, and an author. Please welcome Messer Marco Polo. Nice to see you there, Marco. Great to see you.
my pleasure, Dave. My pleasure.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. Are you going to be all right there?
No, it's the allergies.
How long have you had those?
Well, since the Mongol steppes, the grasslands was just a killer.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're still getting the on me. Okay, so now, first of all, I want to talk about this book.
Yeah,
here.
okay, I do too, because it's called A Description of the World. It's about my travels to the east into the Mongol territories.
Mongols are scary.
Oh.
But Marco, now, is this a description of the whole world? I mean, there's nothing about France or Egypt or Ireland or...
Okay. You know what? I exaggerated maybe just a little. That's...
You know, Marco, it's funny you say that. Some people say all you do is exaggerate.
Only the stupidest person in the entire world would say that, especially, about a book that has sold about a gazillion copies. Come on. Exaggerate my
All right, now see,
Mongolian horseback.
You report now, in fact, I've actually bookmarked this, hang on. You report that there are birds so large they grab elephants in their talons and lift them up into the sky and drop them.
Yeah, well, for sure, the Chinese have birds that big.
Or elephants that small. Yeah. Now, is there a point to this Operation Dumbo Drop, or do the birds just hate elephants?
No, there's a point when it's dinner.
Oh, is that right?
Sure, they fly up with the elephants and then splat. Got elephant gut stew everywhere. You know what? It'll feed a flock of 500.
Wow!
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you actually saw this?
Well, no, it was described to me, actually. And hey, you know what? If it starts raining elephants, you don't want to go bird watching.
Oh yeah, I guess not. I mean, who wants to get hit by elephant droppings?
Yeah.
Now that we've strengthened them to 20 feet thick, our city walls can withstand a nice long siege. Now the question is, will the food hold out? So here's some suggestions for stretching leftovers so they last 5 or 6 months.
So what are we doing?
Okay, now it's time for my Kelly Book Club Pick of the Week. This week, I have a special book.
Oh, wait, let me guess. The Bible! Again! Well, this is the first. It's not the Bible? I mean to say, what happened?
My husband finally bought a second book. It's new.
Yeah.
It's by Marco Polo, and it's called Description of the World.
Oh, really? Does he say whether it's round or flat? Because Gelman and I have a little bet going on.
I don't know. But Mark...
So now, you were gone, 20 years out east, traveling around for Kublai Khan, and you wrote down what you saw.
Actually, I wrote it down after I was back in Genoa.
Oh, beautiful city, Genoa.
Oh, yeah, however, I really didn't see much of it from jail.
You wrote this in the slammer?
You know what a men's prison is like, David? What's there to do but sit around and entertain cellmates with stories?
As I understand it, there's lots of other things they do in men's prisons.
Exactly, which is why I made sure I was always entertaining the guys with stories, you know. Well, hey, they were a captive audience, right?
Marco Polo wasn't the first European to travel the Asian trade routes. His father and his uncle, who traveled with him, had already made the trip once. Marco Polo is famous today not for the journey or for serving in the court of Kublai Khan, but for writing about it. If Marco's uncle had gotten the writing bug first, today kids in swimming pools would be shouting, Maffeo! Polo! Just doesn't sound right.
Okay, Marco, so let me get this right. You traveled with your dad and your uncle.
Yeah, that's right. Dad and Uncle Maffeo had visited the Khan a few years earlier.
Oh, is that right? I visited the can just before the show.
Anyway, the last time Kublai asked my dad and Maffeo to bring him back a few things from Europe so he could learn about Christianity.
Oh, is that right? Bring what? A crusade?
No. You know, some oil from Jesus' sepulchre, some Dominican friars.
Oh, well, sure. I mean, what good is the oil if you haven't got a fryer?
Yeah. Okay, well, you know, as a matter of fact, the two friars sent by Pope Gregory only made it as far as Armenia. The word came, the area was being invaded by Bebars the Arbalester.
You know, kids, now, of course, the last thing you want when you enter Armenia is to get arbalested by Bebars. Am I right?
You know what? Funnily enough, that's exactly what they said. Bunch of scaredy priests chickened out, went back to Acre.
So you show up in Kublai Khan's court completely monkless?
Yeah, well, all we had was a letter saying we really did have some priests at one time, even though they took off on us. And then, you know, we had a few little trinkets for the for the Khan.
Yeah, I can just see the head of the Mongols. Eh? My friends went to the Christian world, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt.
Marco visits Kublai Khan. The big leader
No.
in China.
No, sorry. Never heard of him.
It's the grandson of some guy, Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan. Now, you see, him I've heard of. I got to tell you a little story about this. When Genghis Khan died, his funeral cortege came right through my grandfather's town. And I kid you not, anyone who set eyes on Genghis's funeral procession was killed by the Mongols. Killed.
Just for looking?
Just for being in the way. The Mongols figured, you know, Genghis would have wanted it that way. But yeah, that was the last my grandfather saw of Genghis. In fact, it was the last he saw of anything.
Gee, I usually cry at funerals, but I don't know about this one.
I'll pick Joan Rivers to block.
Can we talk?
Now, your question is, how do fish procreate?
How do fish procreate? On the seabed, of course. They start with coral sex. It's just... No, I kid. No, fish procreate by laying eggs, like a chicken.
I'll agree.
No, I'm sorry. There is no chicken of the sea. Fish do not procreate. Scientists have proven that fish simply come alive spontaneously in water, which is, of course, why vegetarians can eat them.
All right, now, Marco, you also saw real unicorns?
Well, yeah, on Sumatra. But I gotta say, can we show the unicorns?
Yeah, I think we got them.
They were a major letdown.
Whoa, Nelly, that's an ugly thing. It's no wonder they're endangered.
Exactly. You know, another place to avoid is Yunnan province, because they believe if a gentle stranger stays overnight in your house, you should murder him while he sleeps to keep his spirit in your home for good luck.
They get many tourists in the Yunnan?
Not too many, Dave, no.
So I guess if you register at a bed and breakfast, don't count on the breakfast.
When we return, more of The World According to Polo. When Marco Polo set out on his trading expedition to the Far East in 1271, he was only 17 years old. Now, I recall when I was 17, and the focus of my thoughts was certainly not trading, at least not for spices. So it's no wonder that much of what Marco Polo wrote centered on a subject with a little more curve to it.
Okay, now, you and your dad and uncle spent years traveling around Asia for Kublai Khan.
Yeah, we were kind of ambassadors at large, I guess.
All right, now I'm interested in this. What was the best place you visited?
Well, you know, Badakhshan has mountain air so fresh, it could cure any sickness. It probably saved my life at that point, and wish I was there right now. But, you know, the main attraction in Bangladesh, as far as I'm concerned, were the ladies.
Ooh.
Now, you guess what they do to impress the guys. Huh?
Oh, this will be good.
Yeah, they stuck 300 or 400 feet of linen in their pants. 300 or 400 feet.
I'm sorry? In their pants?
Yeah, they roll it up, they jam it in till their pants are like out of there.
So the what was it? Badakhshanian men like a large can, do they?
Apparently, the bigger the better.
Hey, how about you, Paul?
Large can, Badakhshan woman, I'm gonna track you down.
That's got a little snap to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like it, yeah. But you know, another great place is Kabul. They have a tradition. If a stranger arrives, the homeowner gives the stranger free offering of crops from his field and his womenfolk. Yeah.
Now that's hospitality. That's Kamul, you say? No wonder you were gone 20 years. After all, who can resist free crops?
Captain, sensors indicate that there are Mongol warriors up ahead, and they are using their cloaking device of wearing leather armor.
Mongols, eh? Gentlemen, prepare to face the wrath of the Khan. Shields up.
Look, I just don't understand why this is such a big deal is all.
Ray, do you want your children to go to hell? Do you want them to struggle up the 7 levels of agony, fire, and punishment?
Only when they leave their toys around and I trip on them. What? All I'm saying is, how do we know what hell is really like?
Raymond, do you read?
No. What, do I look like a monk?
Well, you better watch out, or you're gonna live like a monk. Heaven, hell, purgatory, it's all laid out in Dante's Inferno.
Dante's Inferno? Yeah, I thought it was Satan's Inferno. Sorry. Look, the kids are under 2 years of age. I mean, do they really need to worry about sin and salvation and stuff?
What's odd about Marco Polo's book is not what he wrote, but what he omitted. For example, he doesn't mention that the Chinese printed books, something that should have caught the attention of an author whose books were all written by hand. He also never mentioned gunpowder, which the Mongols used extensively in warfare, but was not seen in Europe until 1340. And for all the tea in China, Marco never mentioned all the tea in China. Curiously, he did talk about a more intoxicating beverage.
Now, Marco, you're going to show us some Chinese food.
No, Mongol food actually, Dave. I got its recipe from some Mongolian horsemen I hung with in the 80s.
Oh, now, Marco, it's not that I don't have confidence in your culinary abilities, but I've arranged for someone with a little more experience in the kitchen to help us out. And here she is, kids, Marta Stewartini. Martha, nice to see you.
Oh, boys.
So, what are we making today, kids?
Well, it's the favorite beverage of the Mongols. It's called kumis.
I like to call it kumis.
Is that right? You know, I hear some of these Mongols are pretty big drinkers.
Oh, yeah, they'll drink you under the table, you know, if they have a table.
Actually, I have several tables.
So, what's in this stuff?
Well, traditionally, kumis is made with fermented...
It's fermented horse milk, Dave, but I like to use yak's milk. I find it tastes a little sweeter and it yields just a little more cheese during the fermentation process.
Yes, speaking of yak.
Okay. You take your sour horse milk or your yak's milk, I guess. You pour it into a horse skin bag just like that. And you
I like to use an eel skin bag. And to the yak's milk, I add just a little bit of nutmeg and some honey. Thanks, Dave. Some honey and some other spices that I will reveal in my next book.
Right. And then you let the entire mixture, whatever's in the bag, thicken and ferment. And Dave, it all takes a little bit of time.
Well, you know, it's too bad we don't have something ready right now.
I happen to have made some earlier today, and it's been sitting out for a while, so it should be just about ready to go.
Oh, that's good.
Now, the final step in the preparation of this Mongolian thirst quencher is to give your kumis bag a vigorous shake, and it just gets all the contents all creamy and frothy.
Oh,
so,
right.
Dave?
I know when somebody gives my kumis bag a shake, it gets frothy in a hurry.
The abbot says children are born with sin. They lie. Look at Allie saying she rode a pony to the moon. That's a complete lie. I mean, I'm not the best mother. I admit that. I don't listen to your mom's advice about wet nurses and using puppies to get breast milk flowing. But the abbot said that children are devils and full of sin, and we have to beat it out of them so they are free of sin and will get into heaven.
Yeah, but they got their whole lives to renounce sin.
But half of them don't live to their first birthday.
Yeah, all right.
You should read Dante's Inferno. Dante says hell is divided into two halves. The top half is incontinence and the bottom is malice.
Oh, yeah? Says that, huh? Yeah. Well, sounds like me and my brother when we shared a bunk bed.
And as you can see, a few of the eel innards have mixed in with the kumis, but don't worry about that. It just makes it more nutritious.
You see, normally I wouldn't add eel innards.
Ready to drink, Dave?
Marco, most of everything you've said tonight has been a little hard to swallow, but this stuff looks real hard to swallow. Well, here goes. Quick, give me that yak sack.
Well, actually, it's a horse skin sack.
Check you, Marco. In a few seconds, it's going to be a yak sack.
You have to go into the forest to put meat on your table, but you could end up on a wolf's table. Wolves do attack humans. In fact, wolves are the 23rd leading cause of death after childbirth, hunger, plague, and bandits. Now there's help. Throw away those useless traps and dangerous arrows, because here's wolfsbane. Wolfsbane is deadly poison. Just mix it with meat, leave it out for the night, and wolfsbane does the trick. Wolfsbane. Wolves wolf it down instead of you.
Besides, as ambassadors of the Khan, we got a different girl every night. No charge.
Then I guess my next question is, and I'm sure everyone in the audience has the same one, why the heck did you come back?
Well, the Khan was getting that white stuff in the corners of his mouth, like old guys do. And we figured if Kublai Khan dies, there goes our protection. So we needed an excuse to vamoose.
Couldn't you just leave?
Oh, no. No. Nobody leaves the Khan unless he tells them to leave. But then, in 92, we got good news because the wife of Argon Khan died.
Oh, yeah, that's good news, all right. I'm sure Argon Khan was thrilled.
Well, Dave, he was the Khan of Persia, and the Khans of Persia traditionally marry their own mothers. So
I can barely sit through dinner with my mom. Just kidding, Mom.
So the Mongols needed someone to deliver his new bride, Caucasin, to Persia.
So everything worked out okay?
For us, yeah. For them, not so good because Kublai Khan died shortly after we left. Argon Khan died before we could get Caucasin to him. 1294 was not a good year for Khans.
Yeah, I should say so. I guess the Khans were kicking the cans.
No wonder Marco was astounded by what he saw in Asia. He came from a civilization that, by Asian standards, was positively barbaric. Yes, Europe was emerging from the Dark Ages, but slowly.
Mental illness. It destroys lives. It destroys families. It affects 10 out of 10 village idiots. But now there's hope. A cure. Posies. One bag full of posies worn around the neck can cure mental illness. One bag of posies can make the difference between...
Just now, you brought this back from where?
Persia, the Kurban region. It's called turquoise. Some folks say that the stone comes from the bones of people who died of unrequited love, and that wearing it will bring the user similar luck. Okay, now this here. This is a souvenir just for you. Every nobleman at Kublai Khan's court has one.
Oh, that is very beautiful. What is it?
It's a portable spittoon.
Yeah, because Paul, at fancy parties, nothing impresses the babes like your own private hork jar.
and this is for you.
So maybe hell is just like real muddy with like very, very bad weather.
But it is. Dante says so. That's the third circle of hell, where the gluttons live. You see? You and Dante think just the same way.
All right, bad example. Okay, so maybe, maybe hell is like on Earth here, where you go to work and you got a really pointless job that you hate.
But it is. That's the fourth circle. That's where all the money grubbers go.
Okay, but earlier you said it was like where all the demons are breathing fire and torturing people.
Sure, in the sixth circle.
That is a napkin made of asbestos. It's like the one Kublai Khan gave to the Pope. It's completely fireproof.
Yeah, because you never know when your dinner might burst into flame.
You know what they told me? They told me that asbestos is made from the wool of these little creature called a salamander.
Salamander?
Yeah, they're little fireproof lizards.
Now, you see, that's the first believable thing you've said.
Okay, well, now this.
All right, okay, I'm convinced. Yeah, oh yeah, I'll believe in Mr. Dante's wonderful vision. Yeah, when hell freezes over.
That's exactly what happens in the ninth circle.
This is the greatest. This is the greatest. This, you know what that is?
Actually, I have absolutely no idea.
It's money.
Money?
Yeah, that's
money
right.
Made of paper?
That's right. The Khan outlawed metal coins.
Marco, now wouldn't this money just fall apart after a while?
Well, yeah. That's the beauty of it. When it wears out, you just exchange the bills for new ones. But you see, you have to pay a 3% premium to the Treasury.
So these Chinese use bits of paper?
Okay, I know it sounds strange.
Yeah, I'll take a couple of horses, please. Oh, here's some bits of paper.
No.
Oh, and could you give me some change from a book? Oh, no, just give it to me in Post-its and notepads.
You know, yeah, everyone's laughing. Okay, but you know what? That is true. That is absolutely, it's all true.
Oh, yeah, you heard it here, folks. It's all true.
Marco sure led an interesting life. He was a successful merchant, trader, and author. He introduced Europeans to places and practices many of them had never imagined: coal, tattoos, and the ever-popular yak wool. But despite his celebrity, Marco Polo was still ridiculed for much of his life. To folks who had never left their hometown, never mind Europe, it was all too strange to be credible. Even on his deathbed, one of Marco's closest friends asked him, "Come on, man, were you making that stuff up?" Problem was, Asia was so far away, how could he take people across all that land to prove anything? Which just goes to show that geography also bites.
Now, Joey, we need enough firewood to last the night and keep the wolves at bay.
Can't we just keep walking? Why make camp at all?
The monastery of St. Agnes is weeks away.
Doesn't anyone else have relics?
Sure, kid, lots of places. Heck, there's hundreds of places in Europe that claim to have our Savior's bones. There's enough bogus relic bones around to build an army of Jesuses.
Where do all the bones come from?
Does that answer your question?
I think all the lights made him nervous.
Oh, you scared the crap right out of him. Okay, no more stupid farm animal tricks.